Grab your cup of coffee. Sit down for a story. Let's all go exploring. Making it after 40. Making it after 40. Making it after 40.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Making It After 40. I am your host, Lisa Rodriguez. I am an actor and writer who is still trying to make it after the age of 40. On this show, we explore what it means to be an artist trying to make it as a middle-aged person. Today's guest is Tish Hicks. Tish is a highly successful voiceover actor who then started the VO Dojo so that she could teach others the skills and mindset that has made her so successful. I wanted to chat with Tish because I see her as an expert in this field, and she is one who sees so many second act voice actors or retiree actors come through her school. In this conversation, Tish really challenges me to change my mindset on a number of things. And this is what I love about her. She has a way to make you shift your perspective, which opens doors. Chatting with her is like relaxing in a warm cup of chamomile tea. She is truly a wise old soul disguised as a voice actor and teacher. And that's just it. You'll see in this conversation, she is a teacher to her very core. It's very beautiful, and her warmth created a very safe space. So enjoy. Well, today we have Tish Hicks. Thank you so much for joining me, Tish.
Oh, so glad to be here.
Yeah, I met Tish through my neighbor. She recommended that I check out your classes. My neighbor is an audiobook director, as you know.
One of the most
Amazing,
auspicious, amazing
yeah, the amazing
directors.
Rudy. Yes. And so she referred me to your classes, and I did your class, the 6-week, what is it called? Intro to VO? No. So you should do voiceover?
You should do voiceover and a spirited introduction to the essentials of VO.
Yeah. And so I did that at the beginning of the year, and it was so comprehensive and so amazing. And the reason I wanted to have Tish on the show is because I see Tish as more like an expert. Tish has been doing voiceover for, oh gosh, I should have printed out your bio for like 30 years.
Going on 30 years. It's
Yeah.
28 plus. Yeah, 1995, I think.
Yeah. And so she's well established in her career, and she's gone on to create this amazing resource for other voiceover actors who are trying to find their way in the business with the VO Dojo.
Mm-hmm.
So she has 2 careers. And what I wanted to have Tish on the show for was to talk about her experiences with people she sees in the industry who do come at this later in life and who take on a second act career, a third act career, a retirement career. And so I know Tish would probably have a lot to offer the audience and have a lot of insight as to what can be possible at any stage of life. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me today.
Oh, sure. My pleasure. Yeah. I mean, in terms of the journey of being a creative soul, and then the journey through the decades as a creative soul, and the things that I think our society tends to sometimes separate, like the things that we want as the decades go on.
Yeah.
And being a creative soul. And sometimes I think people think of them as a crossroads, like, oh, I want to do that, but I also want to live. So in terms of like my journey,
Let's
I
get into
feel
that.
like I came to voiceover somewhat later I had
Okay.
graduated. I mean, not terribly later, but I didn't move out to LA until I was 29 or 28 or
Oh
29.
yeah.
Um, and I hit the ground running here with the vision of I had had some success in Chicago. I had had what I call the helicopter came in
Yeah.
Chicago. In that I had a friend who was a creative director, and he said, "Hey, you want to? I've got these spots for Bally Total Fitness. You want to come do them? I think you'd be good at them." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I wasn't just like, "Yeah, sure," because okay, I've never tried that before. I
Uh-huh.
was trained in theater at Northwestern. I was doing improv at Second City. I was doing regional Shakespeare. I'm a
Yeah.
trained opera singer. So all of those things came together. Um, and I went and did the session and left there going, that is what I am going to do with this. And shortly thereafter moved to Los Angeles. So I moved to Los Angeles going, boom, this is definitely something that I am going to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then and then evolving that as I grew in my 30s and then into my 40s. And now I'm 55.
Yeah.
Um, so it has been my life journey, um, and how it is, how it has allowed me to have all the things,
Hmm. Yeah.
the things that come with grown up, like houses and kids and life, things like that. Um, yeah. One of the things I love about the VO Dojo is that we do have people who are at all stages of their journey.
Yeah.
We have uh, we've had high school kids that have been doing you should do voiceover, kids who are in college, and we have, as you said, people who are retired judges or
Yeah.
um, started doing our mystery to mastery program the day after they retired.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So I want to go back and touch on your journey. So now, if I recall correctly, and I hope I'm not mixing your story up with somebody else's,
Mhm.
you went to like a creative high school as well, right? And that was like part of the Second City, or
No, I
okay,
went to an alternative school when I was little, like a nursery school
okay.
and elementary school that was started in the basement of Second City.
Right, that
It's
was,
called
and Viola Spilone, she did all the improv games with you guys. Like you
Well,
guys were
it's actually like next generation.
okay,
So
okay. I was like,
in terms
wow.
of that connection, the details are there. We'll put them in order. So I went to an alternative school as a child called Parent School that was started in the basement of Second City by
Uh-huh.
Viola's son Paul and his wife
Okay.
Carol, and so I'm still friends with their daughter Aretha. So
That is
I'm
so
of
cool.
that, like my foundations were based in that approach to the world and approach to life, that improvisational approach
Yeah.
to life, and improvisational and experiential approach
Yeah,
to life.
because
Mhm.
the whole thing with improv is yes and
Yes,
so
and
what so what a neat experience to come up from such a young age to kind of be taught to like, yeah, let's collaborate. Let's build together. And it sounds like you just kind of that maybe that really informed your life and the
Yeah.
chances that you took and the way that you've built this cool creative life and at the age of 30 decided to take on a new project of coming to LA.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's really well, it's a mindset that you can open yourself up to at any age, right? I
Yeah.
happen to have, been doing it since I was 4. Um, but um, I think it's a mindset that you can come to at any point in your life, and have to, right? I mean,
Yeah.
each age that we are in requires new improvisation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and I have two kids who are, one that's going to be college age, one's that's college age, and
Yeah.
yes, and I have parents who are starting to go the other way and need more support and are making decisions about how they want their last lives. Of yes, and I am responsible for all of that.
Yes,
So
and I will take it on with a smile on my face as often as I can.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's I I really like how you kind of take that attitude in your classes as well. In my experience with
Mm,
the You Should Do VO uh, class, you really talk about, and I've kind of touched on this with other guests. I think it was the episode with Tracy Rooney. We talked about how you want to collaborate with the people that you're working with, and you have the
mm.
approach that when you go in for an audition, it's not what do they want, it's a we, that we are all part of the same team.
Yeah,
And
there is no
for
they, there's only we. Yeah.
yeah, there is no they, there's only
Mhm,
we. Yes. And I think that's such a huge shift in mindset, and I personally have been really trying to take that through in all aspects of my creative stuff. But I
mhm,
also in my work life, and I've just recently taken a full-time position again in property management to
mhm,
make things work, and I'm trying to even take that in that setting when we're working with a client. It is the we, it's not how do we serve the client, how do we serve each other, how do we serve the property, how do we serve the tenants. We, the tenants, are a part of the we, my boss is a part of the
mhm,
we, and I'm really trying to take that mindset through my life in many different ways, because I think it really helps to open so many doors to the possibilities of how successful we can be
mhm.
in whatever we're trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it in going back to the values of improv, that collaborative, we are all here supporting each other, that we are here, and there's no one person that is, that takes the focus. It's the togetherness of it is very much. And then I think also, one of the things that comes up in terms of being a creative soul,
Hmm.
um, is creating an entrepreneurial mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
That and so you just mentioned, at the moment I've taken a full time job,
Hmm.
and yet, just knowing the journey that you've been on this year that we've known
Hmm.
each other, you have a new perspective on what and why and how you are taking on this full-time job that
Yeah.
is much more in service of your creative soul. And here we are on this podcast that you've
Yeah.
created, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's for now, and that is part of it. And whether it's podcast or your voiceover career or your painting career or opening your bakery or whatever the creativity is, that I think that entrepreneurial spirit is something that's very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think in this last year, the work that I've done on trying to figure out my creative journey is
Mhm.
learning to not separate that entrepreneurial spirit, and learning to not separate what I would have perceived before as just like a boring 9 to 5 job, or like the
Right.
regular work world, or as some creatives, I hear them say, the normies, right? Learning
Mhm.
to learning to embrace that as a part of me, and that I can be a creative spirit, and I can be an actor, and I can like make these really ridiculous things that I want to make, and I can also have a steady income, and I can also sit behind a desk and figure out a way to make that feed my creative soul, and
Mhm.
it's okay. It's okay to
Well,
have both
and I
sides of
think,
me.
well, we all must have both sides of us. We all
Yeah.
must have both sides. I think the game is how do you understand that business is creativity?
Yes. Yeah.
Business is every day business is creative. Every day
Mhm.
it's problem solving and figuring out how to interact with people and having a vision and then working towards that, building towards that. So I think that's one of the things that I've definitely learned as both as a creative soul, as a creative talent, and as an entrepreneur, recognizing that they're all the same. They're all the same, and
Mhm.
it's we who create those distinctions, right? And then
Yeah.
there is a difference between working for someone else and working for yourself, right?
Mhm.
And those are two choices that we make. However, if you are working for someone else with the clarity of how this is working and why this is working and how it is part of your creative endeavor,
Yeah.
then you are making choices. Um,
Yes.
yeah, that's something that just came up this week on my internal journey, my
Yeah.
ever evolving internal journey as creative soul, creative talent, and creative entrepreneur. The difference between we never have control, we always have a choice,
We
right?
never have control. We always have a choice. Okay.
We
Yeah.
never have control, so as a creative, I think a lot of things that come up are it is a lifestyle that you do not have in a lot of ways. You do not have control depending on what
Yeah.
and how you're doing it, right?
Mhm.
Which goes back to the collaboration.
Mhm.
Right. You are
Yeah.
always working with somebody else, and somebody else may be making decisions depending on what and how you're doing it. But you always have a choice of how you are in response, how you are in motion, how you are um, um, connecting with people, how you are
Mhm.
creating your vision. All of those things you have a choice on
Yeah.
about, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
fresh in my mind. I'm like,
That's
"Ooh, yeah,
yeah. No,
that's
I
great."
really like that. I really like that.
Mm,
Even just, with my choice to find another full-time job and to go back into the property management world, it was a choice that I made specifically to be able to feed my art, to be able to have the funds to
mhm,
take the classes that I want to take, to have the funds to save up for later when I want to shoot that short film that I wrote, and
mhm.
maybe I'll have money to fund it myself.
Well, not maybe, you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Not maybe,
exactly.
because
Yeah, yeah.
you have the resources, so yes.
Yeah, and
If you choose to have them, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it took me a minute to kind of really, it felt it in my gut, it felt like the right decision, and meeting my boss, like, I really clicked with her and I really liked her, and I felt
Mhm,
like, "Okay, if I'm gonna do that, if I'm gonna go back to this, this is someone that I can do this with." And
mhm,
and what's so ironic is, I have this pilot that I wrote where the log line is, Laurel is the character's name. Laurel, on the verge of turning 40, gives up acting and accepts a job as an assistant property manager. And so she's thrown into this world of property management,
Hmm.
and she meets all these characters. And it only occurred to me this week as I was like, learning the lay of the land and meeting everybody. I was like, oh my God, I am living out my pilot. Now, I'm not quitting acting. They know that acting is something I do, and they know that if when I book a job, that I'll need a day off, but I'm very
Mhm.
capable of working a full-time job and not having the acting career taken away from it. But in the pilot, she just quits acting altogether, and we're just
Right.
focusing on the property management thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, universe, I don't know how this is all going to tie out, but I'm getting the signs that this is just part of my journey, and
Mhm.
It may feel like it's off of the path that I wanted, but it's not up for me to decide what the path is. I just have to go with it, and I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, well, a couple of really cool things come up when you share this. First of all, again, you've made a choice. If you reframe what
Mhm.
you've just said, you're actually being paid to do research on your pilot. So you
Uh,
are actually making notes on, 8 years of episodes coming up,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how smart are you?
Yeah.
Getting paid to do research for your pilot?
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's awesome. The other thing that comes up, this idea of giving up your creativity, of giving up your dream or giving up the thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I had an experience. I've got two boys. One's 20 and one is 15. And I had a 15-year-old when I was 40.
Mhm.
It was it was an interesting time. I remember having the discussion with myself of, all right, man, this on camera thing, like, give it up because it's gone. I had a
Yeah.
major, I've had a majorly successful voiceover career, and I had to make this a little segue, but so let me finish one thought and then I'll come
Yes.
back to that.
Yeah.
It's like, but it occurs to me, give it up, man, because it's gone, and it didn't happen. This other thing happened, and I guess the thing I was going to say is, it took me a while in my successful voiceover career
Yeah.
to come to terms with that I was a successful actor, right?
Yeah.
Because I went to
Yeah.
Northwestern, and, like, everyone that I know, like, has a late night talk show, has been on series that run for 10 years, or winning,
Yeah.
Academy Award winning producers, and they're, my friends and my colleagues and the people I came up with, and it's amazing. And it is also easy to go like, "Oh, well, I just have a six-figure voiceover career for 20 years. Oh, well." Um, and it was a huge awakening of, like,
Yeah.
one of my friends was like, "You are a successful actor. What are you talking about? You make more money than most people in SAG. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And like, having to shake myself there. But the point I was getting to around this, when we come to these places of where, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. I realized that, well, two things. One, my creative soul is my first child,
Yeah.
and you can't. I mean, you can leave your first child at the fire station,
Mhm.
but you're leaving your first child at the fire station,
Yeah.
right? So how do you think of your creative soul as something that needs attention and, and care and investment, just like your children do, right?
Yeah.
And then I had the same realization as the dojo started, to take off, and, like, that's really my fourth child,
Yeah.
right? And then your
Definitely.
business needs that same. So it was this moment of realizing, oh, wow, I have these things that all require 100% of me. Being a parent of a child,
Mhm.
being a creative soul, being a business owner, all require 100% of you. And you can't put you can't put any down. So then
No.
how do you figure out how to redefine what 100% is? But, how do you what if you did look at it like, would you leave your child? Maybe.
Mhm.
And if you do need to do that, that's okay.
Yeah.
However, understanding that your creative soul has a heartbeat, is a soul, is an entity,
Yeah.
um, it's then you figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You figure it out. Yeah. Hmm.
That I mean, just the idea of balance, I think is probably the biggest block for a lot of people to go
Mm-hmm.
back and try to find that creative soul that they left on someone's doorstep,
Yeah.
is because they
Yeah.
don't know how to figure out the time or
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
fit it all in. And I think it's
Yeah.
okay to put it put it down for a minute if you need to,
Mhm.
but you can't forget
Absolutely.
it. You can't
Sometimes
just
you
let
need
it go
to.
completely. Yeah, definitely there are
Yeah,
times I
yeah.
think in your life where you need to. But I think that's a good
Mhm.
point. Like you have this other child who needs you and is
Or
such a strong,
who is you?
yeah, who is
Who
exactly,
is
it's,
you?
yeah, who is you. And I do a lot of reparenting and inner child work as part
Mm,
of like my
mhm,
own self-care. And I often I think of my inner child, like, even though like I can see my inner child as like a separate entity, and it's little Lisa, it's like 5 years old
mhm.
Lisa. I I still know that she's me. And so when I speak of this, I think of like, I think of like in my mind, I'm seeing like finding that little creative soul and like pulling them out of the closet and making up with them. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry I neglected you. I'm here for you now,
yeah. And sometimes
Yeah.
they don't even need to hear an apology, you just need to play Legos with them,
Yeah.
right? Like, you just go like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we don't need to talk about it. We need to" like, it
Yeah.
is good to acknowledge and
Yeah.
but then I had an opportunity to play with a six-year-old a couple weeks ago, and um, it was so effortlessly empowering to
Oh.
just be present with a six-year-old, like, hey, let's do the Legos. Okay, cool. What's this? Yeah, okay. Right. So yeah,
And I
those are
think
the
I
shame.
think if you don't tend to it, it's gonna because it is a part of you, because that creative spirit
Mhm.
is you, then you have that little part of you that is just withering.
Yeah, because
You
yeah.
have
Oh, and you said the word balance. I think balance is another sort of setup word, right?
mm,
We were talking about they, there is no they, there's only we.
yeah.
I found this is a tool that I was introduced to through an international mentorship program that I've been a part of for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, called Inspired Women Lead. But
Okay.
one of the concepts that is introduced there is redefining, doing a little semantic change of the
Mhm.
word balance to harmony.
Oh.
Because when you're trying to balance, the balance is like finding that one place where everything is like and it's always going to be you have to like hold your core and find your
Yeah.
balance. It's always like you're
Yeah.
adjusting. Whereas harmony can be, it can be one note that is
Yeah.
and then it could be two things, or it could be a whole symphony,
Right.
right? And then harmony doesn't have to be exactly this and exactly that. And it's like
Yeah.
life balance is like, oh, we'll get everything completely equal. I don't know that that ever happens, that you ever have everything. Oh, I completely have one third of my life that is my personal life, and one third of my life that is, like, I don't know. But if
Yeah.
everything's in harmony,
Mhm.
then it's all together, and it might be 57 things, and you might get it down to four things, you might get it down to a quartet, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then
Because there's
and
gonna be
then when you
phases. There's gonna be phases of
yeah.
your life. There's gonna be phases, like you said, when you're having a new baby, that phase is gonna be a lot more baby and parenting time. And,
Mhm.
it doesn't you'll still have some of your creative time, you'll still have time with your spouse, but the
Mhm.
baby is gonna be the strongest note during that period of time. And
Yeah.
then as the baby grows, then that, will shift and you'll get more time for the other things that you need. And yeah, no, I like
Mhm.
that. I like the
Yeah.
harmony.
Yeah, and the whole baby thing, as someone who is a creative soul and has that little like, what are we making today? What are we making? We're gonna gotta make something. Let's do something. Let's make something.
Yeah.
Let's make something. Let's make something. I remember being pregnant as some of the most joyous, relaxing times because whenever that little voice came up, I could be like, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm making a human, and it would go, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Ultimate creativity.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm yeah, I'm building a person inside of me right now.
Yeah,
So
a little thing. Mhm.
we are working all the time. That's yeah.
There's something else that came up, like that we're talking about, because we're talking about this finding the harmony between the creative life and making a way of living, making a living, and then your creative way of life. One of the things that I love about voiceover is that it really has the potential to bring both, right?
Mhm.
As you put in the time and the energy to build your business, build your skills and build your business, it becomes a great way to make a living.
Yeah.
And how you're doing that, it becomes your way of life, right? That
Yeah.
this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. So,
Yeah. I think the voiceover in particular really forces you to look at the it really forces you to have the entrepreneurial spirit right away. I think more so than on camera, or at least
mhm.
on camera you still have to have that spirit, but I think you can get away with, you know, just relying on your agents if you have them, if you're lucky enough to have them, or
Mhm.
relying on submitting yourself on Actors Access or like casting or wherever. But with voiceover, there's really no easy way in. It takes
Mm,
so Oh, well, okay, it's been my experience. I just mean that it takes a lot of work and a lot of perseverance, and like you can find your what I guess maybe this is what I mean. The easy way ins are like finding your own clients, building your own career, and you don't have to be dependent on agents, it seems like, in order to get a career going as a voiceover artist.
well, here's the question. What's your definition of easy? Like, I
Easy?
think I think that's I think
Yes.
that's I think that's a little mindset shift of
Mm,
what do you expect things like what is easy, right? Because
yeah.
is going is going to your 9 to 5 job and doing that, is that easy? No, it's work, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy work because it's work that you're good at, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things. Becoming a ballet dancer, is that easy? No,
No.
but yes, right? If it's
Right.
what you do and what your intention is, then you do the things you need to do.
Yeah.
So, and then I think one of the powerful things about how the world has just been like shifted, right?
Yeah.
What we know in September, in this year, September of 2022,
Yeah.
is so completely different of any expectation that we had in September of 2019, right?
Yeah.
Like completely, like what the world is, how the world is, how it works, how one gets their way through it is nothing's the same.
Yeah.
Nothing is the same. So how do you redefine what that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, yeah. I like that you called me on that it can be a mindset shift about
Hmm.
the what is easy. Because I think
Yeah.
in my mind, easy would be just like you go take some classes and then you record a good demo and you get an agent and then the agent submits you for stuff and you start booking work. And I
And it
feel
can
like
happen that
y-
way. It can happen
it
that
can
way.
totally happen. I think it's because that hasn't been my experience with voiceover, and I wanted it to
Mhm.
be so badly. I wanted voiceover to be like the golden ticket for me.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say golden ticket, right? Because then if you
Mhm,
if you look at like who got the golden ticket, right?
mhm.
Veruca Salt, Augustus Gloop, Mike TV. And
Yeah.
right. And then what did Charlie have to do to get the golden ticket? Was that easy? Was it easy
Mm-mm.
what he had to do to get the golden ticket?
No.
No, right? So getting the golden ticket, and then, once you get the golden ticket, you have to do. you have to do the thing and you have to know yourself. I mean, like just using that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as a metaphor. Once you get the golden ticket, then you have to stay on the trail and be in
Yeah.
integrity with your values. And, you know, like that's a really interesting thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what do you do with it? Yeah.
Right. Well, and, you know, and then the other thing to break apart, Lisa, too, is, you know, what were you doing on your journey that made it feel hard, right?
Mm.
And were you doing it all by yourself, or how are you doing? Like I think that's one of the things. Like, I'm just going to do it, and it's like, okay, you can
Yeah.
do it by yourself. One of the things we say at the dojo is that it's always just you. You have to have that vision. You have to have that consistency. You have to have the doing the thing, right? Doing
Yeah.
the thing, and you never do it alone, right? So what
Hmm.
are things that you can do? It is hard to break into voiceover, but it doesn't have to be. It is hard. It doesn't have to be difficult, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do to keep on making it less hard, right? How do you?
Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about in the dojo, in the Mystery to Mastery program, which is our full training program, which is kind of a 360 training
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
voiceover, working in all the different areas of mastery that are required to create a sustained, successful voiceover career. One of those is our knowledge mindset calls, and so much of what we do is based on the heart of everything, the basis of everything being the internal training, like we've been talking about. Like, well,
Hmm.
what if you shift that? Oh, okay. But on the last knowledge mindset call, we talked about this idea of everyone pretty much understands the idea of hard work to get what you
Yeah.
want. And easy play what if easy play is equally a way to get to what you want?
Okay.
Easy play,
Yeah.
or being in the flow. And then we come back to where we started in the whole improv thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that it doesn't require hard work, not that you don't have, especially when you're building your voiceover business. I when I moved out here, I had booked some gigs, so I knew I had some like, oh, this happened, and it was easy. It was like, hey, wait a minute, right?
Yeah.
And then I went, oh, wait a minute, I don't want this just to be like, hey, I got this thing. I want this to be the thing that I
Right.
do, the sustained, successful voiceover career. Then I did everything. I did everything to do that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And for you, that was what was that for you to do everything? Was that classes, finding people to record a
Yeah, no, it
demo?
was it was it was very much like, "Hi, I'm doing voiceover. You do voiceover? Hi. Who do you know? What do you know?"
Yeah.
Not picking your brains. Don't ever pick anyone's brains, because only zombies should pick people's brains. But just going like, "Hi, what shum shum shum. Hi, I'm doing this. I'm doing this." Not thinking about, "Oh, you do this. I would like to do that too. I'm doing this. Hi." What it
Yeah.
was. So it was training. It was training, and I in terms of my evolution, so I was 29. I got a job working as a personal assistant, and worked for a lovely, lovely man who I learned a lot from. And then it got to a point where I was like, "Ugh, I can't do this anymore,"
Yeah.
because the itchy creative soul came out. And then I started a graphic design company with my husband, because I
Okay.
kind of I was like, oh my gosh, we need to live. And how are we going to do this? And I looked at what we did already. And because we're both creative souls, we were doing stuff for people anyway. We were, designing logos, and we were helping out with this. And I was like, we're going to be doing the same thing and spending the same amount of time. We just have a rate now.
Yeah.
And so I started a graphic design company. And then just like you're talking about, you're doing this full-time job, but really you're doing research for your pilot.
Right.
um, everything with graphic design or marketing all applies to voiceover,
Yeah.
right? Because it's advertising, it's figuring out how things work and how to, distill something. You're distilling it visually, but it's the same
Mm-hmm.
process, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah. And then we had the graphic design firm, and my husband had a website design firm, and eventually it got to a place where I was the voice of Burger King, and we were able to buy the house, and then I was a voice of Citibank, and so when
Yeah.
it came time when the kids were coming, I was the voice of Citibank, and he was like, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore, and I was like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
and then all businesses have ebbs and flows. So,
Yeah.
then there was a point where I wasn't the voice of Citibank, and I was like, it would be good. Yeah. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. And, when you are a young parent,
Mm-hmm.
you go to work and you feed your baby. And when you are a young parent and you go to work and you're starting a business, then you do all of those things that you need to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that ties into the harmony thing. I mean, even today,
Hmm.
this weekend, as we shifted this time for our interview because my husband is out of town. So I
Yeah.
am mom and kids, and I have to do the interview on the weekends now or in the evenings because of my job.
Hmm.
But I was able to find someone to just drop off my 3-year-old with for today. And so now she's getting her needs met because she's getting to
Hmm.
play with her friend. My other child, my older child was able to go to his friend and get his needs met, and I'm here with you and I'm getting my soul fed and my
And there you
husband
go.
is playing golf with his friends. We're all getting fed today.
Yes, but that's that beautiful chord, right?
Right? But that can also
You
be a mindset, right? Because I could be saying
yes.
like, "Oh, I don't know how to do this. What am I going to do with everybody?" And it,
Well,
like
I have to take
overwhelm
care of
myself.
everything. I have to take care of it. No, no,
Yeah.
don't. In fact, others take. Yeah, no, that's huge. That is from that's one of the other values of the dojo is how do we always generate win-win situations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you figure out that puzzle? So it's like, ooh, that would be good. And yes, yes, win-win,
Yeah.
win-win, 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 win. You
Yeah.
created a win-win, win-win, win-win-win situation,
Yeah. And
and
I
that's harmony.
uh, just going back to what you were talking about with the ease or the hardness or the difficulty, however your mindset is about approaching the
Hmm.
voiceover industry. One of the things you said, like, well, are you doing it alone? And that was one of the things that I love about the dojo is that I did before I met you and before I took my first class there, I felt very much like I was doing it alone. And so it
Hmm.
felt very hard because I felt very alone and very isolated. And
Yeah.
I was in this box and trying to figure out, well, I don't know where the door is. And what I
Yeah.
love about the dojo and the Mystery to Mastery courses is that it really does put you in an environment where you're meeting other people and you can have those conversations, the conversations that you just said you had to find your career of
Hmm.
I'm doing this. You're doing this. What are you doing? Like, let's meet each
Hmm.
other. Let's, help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can work with other
Yeah. Yeah.
people who are figuring it all out,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to when I can get back into the mystery to
Well,
mastery.
it's just you have, as long as you keep it, if you think of this score, right, this
Yeah.
harmonic score, right? So right now, um, you have the line for your voiceover,
Hmm.
right, as an instrument in this harmony,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
It's just there's some rests right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just rests right now, but it's in the score,
Yeah.
right? And you're the composer, so if you are going like, nope, that's not a thing that I'm going to do, right?
Hmm.
And then it might be that in the next, as well, we've talked about this, we already have
Yeah.
a plan for
Yeah.
like next month. You'll have some notes of voiceover every
Yeah.
week, right? And so it's just a rest. It's not that it's been eliminated from the whole score,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that you said is one of there's some things about voiceover that are now more than ever it's a solitary, isolating thing. It's like
Yeah.
why it exploded during the pandemic. Hey, I can do this alone at my house. Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that element of it is just you alone in a box, and then really how careers are built, how you build your skills and build your career is relationships and getting to know the people who are doing the things because
Mm-hmm.
you are a person who's doing the thing. So then you get to know the people who are doing the things. And then it can be easy. I want to share a story about my 20-year-old
Yeah.
who's grown up. Well, so he was 10 when I started the dojo. My
Okay.
15-year-old was 5 when I started the dojo. So they've grown
Okay.
up with this stuff and they
Yeah.
do voiceover as well. But one of the first rules of the first rule of the dojo is know what you want, ask for it. People will give it to you if you allow. And I had this really proud moment as parent and as a fellow creative soul, um, that my son, who has had not an easy path, he has ADD. His whole high school thing was like, okay, how are we doing this? He
Yeah.
hasn't had an easy road. He's
Okay.
had challenges that he had to figure out. Um, he has skills. He has theater tech skills, as he went
Oh, okay.
to Burroughs High School, which is like the Glee High School. So the things
Oh,
he
yeah.
learned doing high school tech was like he could go run a Broadway show. It's like
Yeah.
really impressive. So he leveraged that to apply, know what you want, ask for it, people will give it to you if you allow.
Yeah.
So he mentioned that he wanted to work in event lighting. I was like, well, I know like one of our dojo members works in that. Take him to lunch.
Yeah.
Tell him what you're doing. And so that got him his first job. And over the summer, he had set a vision of. He said like a few years ago, wow, esports event, like to put esports event thing, that would be so cool. I love gaming, I love this, I love doing these things, that would be
Yeah.
so cool to do. And over the summer he went as a participant, or as a spectator, not a participant,
Uh-huh.
as a spectator to an esports event, and he had the wherewithal to introduce himself to the tech director
Oh my gosh.
and said thank you. You know, he was able to tell him a little bit about his experiences,
Yeah.
said thank you, emailed him thank you, and said if there's an opportunity to shadow, I would love to do that. I'm so interested. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to meet you, etc. And so then a couple weeks later, he was invited to shadow, and he went and spent the whole day meeting the people who are doing the things. It helps that,
Yeah.
his first jobs, he has stories like running spot for Bill Murray at the governor's ball, as a
Yeah.
19-year-old. He's able to like, do tech stories like that. So, but he said thank you and then said if there's any opportunity to work with you. And he's been offered a job at this dream job.
Oh
And it
my
was
gosh.
it was that easy, because he did the things, but he
Mm-hmm.
also has the skills, or has the foundations for the skills, has the desire, and has the both like chutzpah and humility,
Yeah.
right? That combination. The fifth rule of the dojo is cultivate beginner's mind,
Yes. Yeah.
curiosity,
Yeah.
determination, humility, right?
Yeah.
I want to do this. I would like to work and learn from you.
Yeah.
Excellent. um yeah, so anyway, it just so embodies,
That what a gift to give your child to have
yeah.
that mindset and that mentality. Because
Hmm.
for so many, it's so hard to get there. I know for myself, it's hard to get there. And there have been times in my life where I've asked for what I've wanted and
Mm.
it works. But I think like you said, it takes so much humility to be able to do that, to say, "Hey, I want this." And oftentimes it can seem like I think depending on where you're at in your life, you can feel like ashamed. I don't have
Mm.
this, but people want to give you
Mm.
things. People want good people to work with them. That story is really inspiring and really really expansive. And
Mhm.
wow, you must be so proud. That's so cool.
It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. It's super cool. And
Yeah.
he's also going like, oh, and I also want to do the science stuff. And I'm like, you want to do science stuff? Like, I don't, did you ever
No.
take a science class? Like,
Yeah.
um, but okay, cool. Then,
Yeah.
don't put time. I think this is one of the things too, being a person who's been has had a number of years of life experience, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
That I see this young person who I've known since he was born, at this crossroads, of like what and how do I make my way in the world, right?
Hmm.
And so he's so I think sometimes we go like, oh well, we have to do this, or we, well, how will I make money doing that?
Yeah.
And the game is like, see what you want to do, recognize that if anybody else has made money doing that, you can too.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody's made money doing that. So how it's doable, because and then how do you bring yourself to this? This is one of the things we say at the dojo. Here's a mindset. It is inevitable that I will be making great money, whatever adjective you want to put in,
Yeah.
great money, some money, enough money to live, fantastic money, insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is inevitable that I will be making money doing voiceover.
Yeah.
It is inevitable that I will be making money doing voiceover. And that just puts that into the universe. It is inevitable. It is inevitable. And then you do the things that need to make that inevitability happen,
Yeah.
right? And then what can I do to ensure that it is inevitable? But if you
Hmm.
have that in your mind and you go forward, yeah, I think that's one of the other things, that
Yeah.
sometimes we make choices, make choices based on fear,
Hmm.
or worried,
Yeah.
that you get rejected, right?
Yes.
If you're doing anything creative, you're gonna get rejected.
All the time.
I mean, it's like, yeah, man, you are going to get rejected, and
Yeah.
probably rejected more than not rejected.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So if that's not for you, then maybe have a discussion with your creative soul,
Yeah.
right? Or,
Yeah.
redefine what it is. And
Right.
once again, creative souls do not need to make money. You can be a creative
Hmm.
soul and not make money from that and be completely taking care of your child,
Yeah.
right?
Your creative soul
Well,
can be just for you. It doesn't have to
yes.
be shared with the
Yeah.
world unless you want it to, but you could
Right.
also make it your
Exactly.
hobby and that's just for you.
Well, and that as long as you're tending to the kid,
Yeah.
so I think that's sometimes where people go like, well, this kid creativity is not going to pay the rent, not going to pay the mortgage. You're not going to pay the rent or even allow me to consider having a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Well, just let the kid be the kid and see what happens,
Yeah.
or have belief in the kid. Like, yeah, why couldn't you?
Yeah.
Or what have others done? What have others done to
Yeah.
make that a thing, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because some people do it. Why not you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's two things that have come up in the last few minutes with the stories. One is that SAG has a whole the SAG Foundation rather has a whole class called the audition, and basically the whole class is to instill in you that you're not going to get the job. Like the whole thing is like you're going to submit blah 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 blah, but don't get excited because you're not going to book the job. And like every step of the way, so you go in the audition and you leave, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go in the audition, but you're not going to book the job. You still haven't booked the job. And the whole thing, it was like the whole way through, they're talking you through each step of the audition and like prepping, blah, blah, blah. But they're trying to like, just remind you like, you're not going to get the job because the chances that you're going to get the job are so low, but it's okay. It's okay because there's going to be another audition, or that audition might lead to a job that you didn't audition for today. And so I don't know, I just thought that was funny
Yeah.
that
Well, I
that
mean,
you talk
I
talk about
think,
that as an artist.
yeah, and I know we're winding down, but I think one of the things that comes through this discussion is the power of language, the power of language to empower or disempower, right?
Mhm.
Balance is can feel disempowering. Harmony
Mhm.
can feel empowering, and I think a lot of the language, particularly around the performing arts,
Mhm.
is like listen to the words. I submit my audition. I
Uh,
submit to you. Oh, powerful, all everything of I submit. I submit to my representative. My representative. Oh, I am an act. I am just an actor. I need a
mhm.
representative, someone who will represent me. And once again, don't get me wrong, having awesome representation is an awesome, important part of your
Yeah.
business as a performer, as an artist, etc. But they are people on your team. They
Yes.
are people
Yeah.
that you hire to get you to your goal. Just as a business
Yeah.
owner,
You still
they
have
are
to take
not.
ownership over your business and your
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
They are
yeah.
people that you choose
Yeah.
to work with. And
Yeah.
yes, so there's this power of the language, and the power of the word to power or disempower, which is really interesting, which
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
back to everything about voiceover, because really that's the joyous creative place of finding the nuance within the nuance, right? What is the
Yeah.
nuance of this word? And goes to the foundational principle that we work at from the dojo is voiceover is communication, and communication is an exchange of vibrational energy.
Yeah.
So that's it, and that goes for in a conversation. That goes
Mhm.
to bringing yourself to bringing. Let me shift that. Bringing a piece of copy to you to share,
Mhm.
right?
Right, right,
That
right.
goes with your mindset as a creative entrepreneur. This
Yeah.
is my business. Of course, I'm not going to start a business because I'm not going to make money,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to
Mhm.
start a business expecting that I'll never sell any lemonade.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to sell lemonade. Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's why I'm creating the lemonade stand. Like, of course I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. Well, I
The
want to I want to say kudos to you, Lisa, because you have created this place where you are exploring this beautiful, amazing topic, and
oh.
and you've created this place for us to come together, and everyone who's listening will
Mhm.
be impacted, and you are doing the things, right?
Yeah.
So,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. That really
Mhm.
that really means a lot. That really touches my heart.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
you
this was
creating this is touching a lot of people's hearts, and
yeah.
that's what we do. That's what we do and why we do what we do.
Yeah,
So,
as a lost middle-aged artist, I wanted to create a space for people who are trying to find their way in this field.
mhm,
Part of it is the things, like we've talked about, all these little mindset shifts I think are so important to kind of finding your way either back to your creativity or finding your way to
mhm,
uh if maybe it's just that you need to let your little creative soul play and be free, and that's
mhm.
gonna bring the career, and because
Or may
like you just
or
said,
maybe it's oh, go ahead. Mhm,
it's inevitable that these creative things that we've done, or it's and for I'll say for me, it's inevitable that this podcast will earn me some money.
excellent. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
but it's not just about that. It's about creating this space for everyone. It's about creating the space for the people who need this, is what I want to say. It's the people who need
Mhm.
to hear these conversations, the people who need to feel less alone, because I know I certainly have felt very alone in the last 3 years, especially after turning 40. I felt very alone in pursuing this art, and there have been many times where I felt ashamed that I didn't that I'm still trying to do it, ashamed that am not
Mm.
further along, ashamed that I quote unquote wasted time or whatever. And
Mhm.
a big part of my journey has been learning to embrace the journey for what it is and just trust that it's all going to come together in a way that I don't get to know yet, and
Mhm.
I'm
Y
get to be
you don't
surprised by seeing like,
you don't have
yeah.
control over it,
Yes, I
but
don't
you
have
have a
control.
choice of
Mhm.
how you are doing it, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And yeah, and then you have a choice to be ashamed, or you have a choice to be excited. You have a choice to relinquish it. You have a choice to reaffirm,
yeah,
to recommit, right?
mhm,
Those are the choices that you do have,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
those are the choices that we make. And then you have the choice to do the things that are required to do it.
mhm,
And if you don't know what those are, or the things you're doing is not working, then you have the choice to go like, what else? What else? Keep on turning it around.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think when you're in the moment of feeling lost, it's easy to identify yourself as a lost soul.
mhm,
When you're feeling lost,
yeah,
it's easy to identify yourself as like, that's who I am. Right.
right,
But
yeah,
really it's just the condition right at the moment,
yeah,
right? Because once you like see the like, oh wait a minute, there's the North Star. Once you have your bearings, you you aren't lost anymore, right?
yeah,
Or if you accept like, wow, I know exactly where I am.
yeah,
I'm right here.
yeah,
I am right here. I'm not lost at all. I know exactly where I am.
yeah,
It's just when we
yeah,
have some expectation of, oh, I was supposed to be over there and I don't know how to get there. And I think when you bring it back to, oh, I'm exactly here.
yeah,
Oh, not
yeah,
lost at all.
yeah. I
Cool.
l Yeah, I like that a lot, I like that a lot. And I think,
Yeah.
for me, part of figuring my way out of it is just listening to the little voice that's talking to me. Like,
Mhm.
if you kinda really listen inward, there's that little person inside you, that soul or whatever it is that's telling you the next steps to take. And it took me
Mhm.
really tuning in, because I'd hear it and I'd dismiss it like a snooze button. No, no, no.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
can't do that. Dismiss. Oh, that's too much work. Dismiss. Oh, but
Mhm.
somebody probably has already done it. Dismiss. Oh, that idea, would anybody really like it? Dismiss. And then I finally
Mhm.
just listened to it. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I think that there are these little tender, joyous, vibrant children in Saraswara Soul. And then I know this is for another podcast, but I know there's been moments in my life where I've stopped myself because what is inside is so vast
Mm,
and so powerful that
yeah.
that sometimes is a little scary too. So,
Yeah.
and I think they both can be there and both can be acknowledged. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that isn't a
interesting.
whole other
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah, and just one last thought,
yeah.
the purpose and mission of the dojo is the VO Dojo is to align people with the power and possibility of their voice in the world.
Yeah.
And so for me, yes, right now, right now, the way that the thing is organized, it's through the vehicle of voiceover.
Mhm.
But if someone comes through, or not but, because that but is a word that we can switch because it means
Right.
that the other thing is not. So
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and if someone comes through the dojo and is aligned with the power and possibility of their voice, because through the work and how we're doing and exploring this vehicle of voiceover allows them to see something in themselves or stand for something or just align with the power and possibility of voice. I don't care if anyone does voiceover ever in their life
Yeah.
because their voice is in the world. And everything about the dojo is set up to how to make what seems like it is just hard work
Yeah.
to do voiceover into easy play that gets the results. Like how do you do both of those things? It does take hard work and it is easy play. And how do you
Yeah.
merge those things?
Yeah.
And then just tying everything we've been talking about, and then say we. There's nobody keeping anything from us because
Yeah.
we are that already. And when we step into it going, hi, I'm this already. I might be a little acorn of this, but I am this.
Yeah.
And then people who are the people who are doing the thing get to be the people who are doing the thing will go like, oh, well, little acorn, come.
Yeah.
You're part of our grove, right?
Yeah. I wish you all could see Tish because there's there's a passion and vibrancy that is coming through the videos right now, and really, yeah, that's really intense, really special. I know we need to wrap up, but I always ask people these two questions. So if I can ask you
Mhm.
these two questions before we go.
Absolutely.
One is, do you have any advice for somebody who's maybe looking to do a second act career, or somebody who is just like trying to start their career later in life, in terms of like creativity in general, just like very specific, tangible
I
mindset
mean,
stuff or whatever?
I think it really is the first rule of the dojo.
Yeah.
Know what you want, ask for it, trust that people will give it to you if you allow.
Yeah. That's
But I mean,
awesome.
it's that, and most of the time, sometimes as older humans,
Yeah.
um, we don't allow,
Yeah. Yeah.
or we
I,
can't, or we don't allow, or we only see what hasn't happened, but not looking at the blessings that have happened.
I
Yeah.
really like that last part of it, is like, if we allow, that's an
Hmm.
important, for me personally, that's an important thing for me to reinforce. If you allow it,
Hmm.
you have to be willing to
Hmm.
allow it. The second question I always like to ask people is, what does success mean to you now versus maybe when you were younger? I mean, clearly you are
Mm,
successful, but what does that look like for you?
interesting. Um, I think it has to do with harmony.
Hmm.
I think it has to do with um, understanding a vision for yourself, right?
Hmm.
So, what is the vision, and then why is the vision,
Okay.
right? Kind of how can you make something hard easy?
Yeah.
That seems successful to me.
Yeah.
I think, are you in integrity with yourself?
Mm.
Is a sign of success. Is a definition of success. And I think it really has to do with finding the easy flow to have your vision come to life, right? Are you doing the things that are making your vision come to life, and are you finding a way to do that easily?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's what it is today. Um, Yeah, one last meta, because I'm all about the metaphors. But one
Yeah.
thing that I do think that I very much have noticed, and I think it is a metaphor that articulates what I'm just trying to say. I think that in my 20s, my energy system, my approach to life was um, kinetic energy. Like jump off the
Yeah.
cliff, let's do it.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen, right? And so I was always like jumping off cliffs, right? Whoa, let's do it.
Yeah.
Um, then in 30s and into 40s is very much combustion engine.
Yeah.
Drive. We need more fuel. Oh, we're running out of fuel. We need more fuel. Drive. Got to make it happen. Got to make it happen. Got to make it happen. And I think
Yeah.
what's been happening over these last few years is recognizing how do you build an infrastructure? How do you put energy? How do you build an infrastructure for solar energy?
Mm.
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
How do you create something so that on a 12-hour cycle, when the sun is out, energy is being collected and it's being stored, and then there's 12 hours off, and you don't have to do anything because it's set up
Yeah.
so that you don't have to do anything but maintain it, right? And it's infinite,
Yeah.
right? And we've got a few more million years, right? Unless, well, we'll get into
Yeah.
climate change and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But right now,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I think that is kind of a good image of where my definition of success is now.
Yeah. Awesome. So, where can listeners find you and find the dojo? And do you have any, I know you guys are getting started. I think you're starting a new round of classes pretty soon, or
Yeah. Everything about the dojo you can find out at www.thevodojo.com. And I think you can follow us I think everything is the VO Dojo.
yeah, on
Um,
Instagram.
on Instagram, on LinkedIn. There's all sorts of stuff that you can explore on YouTube. Lots of ways that you can see what we're up to. In terms of my own voiceover, Tish Hicks, tishhicks.com
Great.
is my own voiceover stuff. If you want to check that out. And yeah, give us a call. Just check it out.
Yeah.
You should do voiceover classes are starting pretty much every month except December. We take December off because nobody has any brains.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can also call and have a voiceover or once over anytime because
Yeah.
we love to hear your voice. We love to hear where you're at and where you'd like to be, and we love to get to meet you and see how we can be a part of your voiceover journey. And whether it's something that you're like, boom, I know this is what I want to do, or if you even have, like Lisa, you were talking about that little kid, and you're like, you know what? I always thought it would be kind of cool to be in cartoons or do that thing.
Yeah.
So it's that the You Should Do Voiceover Intensive is created to be that place to get the comprehensive overview so you
Mhm.
understand what it is, and that little taste so you can really see, oh, is this for me? And
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys have a monthly Zoom call
oh
that's
yeah.
free. Anyone can kind of join and
Yeah, twice a month. Twice a month, we have opportunities that you can join us. The first Wednesday of every month is our free monthly Q&A called Ask the Sensei. It's
yes, yeah.
myself, our home studio master, Dan Leonard, and then we invite an esteemed voiceover colleague to come, and we just answer questions for an hour. And it's
Yeah.
all levels, all subject matters. So that's Ask the Sensei the first Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. PT. And then the third Wednesday, we have a series called Get to Know VO, where we focus on some aspect of voiceover that is good to have some more insights. Last month, we did what are the basic things you need for a home studio setup. This month, well, I guess I shouldn't say these things because I don't know when people will be
Yeah.
listening.
And
But the
yeah.
third Wednesday, but coming up next in some undefined term of time, coming up next we have the demo listen derby where we it's myself and our demo producers basically listen to. Um, Shared demos. People send their demos. They don't submit their demos. They
They,
send their demos,
uh-huh.
and we run them through the gauntlet of what really happens with demos. And we
Yeah.
Open it up. I was going to say break it down, but we really open it up.
Yeah.
Open it up like, this is what it is, this is what happens, and this is how it works, and this is why. So it's a very, we do this demo listened every twice a year. So yeah, lots of stuff. Get on our mailing list, and you'll be in the mix, and sign up for a VOO, and then we'll know who you are, and we can answer your questions.
Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend it. The intensive is really great. It was super helpful for so many things, not just VO, as I told you, like mindset stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. And if you heard about us through this podcast, when you sign up for a VOO, let us know. Let us know about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And I will talk to you soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. The best way to keep up with Tish and the VO Dojo is to follow the dojo on Instagram at the VO Dojo. You can also check out their classes on their website at thevodojo.com, and you can check out Tish's VO work on her website, tishhicks.com. All of this plus their YouTube channel is linked in the show notes. Thank you to my listeners who have given me reviews this week. I love you for it. Oh, it made me so happy to see those. So thank you. Please, if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at makingitafter40, the number 40, and to catch up on what I'm doing when I'm not podcasting, check out my Instagram at Lisa Rodriguez. That's where you can also check out my web series, Tips with Teresa, or you can check it out on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week. Starting a podcast felt overwhelming and scary. From putting myself out there in a vulnerable way, to wondering if people would even want to be a guest, and questioning if my idea was good enough. Once I overcame those fears, the easiest part has been getting my podcast out into the world. And that is thanks to Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. I researched a lot of podcast hosting sites, but Buzzsprout is the one that I kept coming back to. You'll get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, and more. If you're considering starting your own podcast, don't wait any longer. It's so much fun. To be honest, I only wish I had started it sooner. Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know we sent you. Gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and helps support our show. So what are you waiting for? Go start your podcast now.